Our last story tonight is about a 4-year-old child, a young scion, a budding nasal digger, and apparently the protege of the world's richest man. I'm talking about X-AE-12.
Everyone was stunned when Elon Musk and Grimes had their first son, X. The choice of name was weird, but that was just the beginning.
Okay, here's what has a lot of people talking. Elon Musk and Grimes, of course, welcoming their first child together this week. And soon after, they revealed the baby's name. It is spelled X-AE-12.
Musk's obsession with technology and Grimes' love for the arts started affecting X's life. And boom, something unexpected happened, leaving even Musk and Grimes in tears. What happened to Musk and Grime, and how will it affect X's future? Join us as we expose the latest drama, turning X's world upside down. Parenting style of Musk and Grimes. Elon Musk's marriage to Grimes caught the world unawares, an artist and a tech guru. Many did not know that their journey into parenthood would even bring more mysteries. When their son, X, entered the world, people were shocked by his name and the strange combination of his parents. Musk is a billionaire engineer obsessed with pushing humanity toward Mars, but Grimes is a musician. It seemed like a weird match. Despite this, their relationship flourished because of their shared love for technology. For Musk, fatherhood has always been complicated. Remember his high-profile marriages, personal losses, and the constant challenge of balancing his expanding empire with his role as a parent. Before Grimes, Musk had been battling with a demanding work schedule, the ability to function on little sleep, and a relentless focus on the future. For him, relationships had often seemed like a side project, something squeezed into the gaps between Tesla meetings and SpaceX launches. But with the birth of baby X, everything changed in ways that will shock you. Musk and Grimes are interested in artificial intelligence, space colonization, and the role of consciousness in the digital age. Their son was given an environment filled with high-tech influence, experimental music, and ideas that defied conventional wisdom. The world saw Musk's sporadic social media posts and Grimes's artistic expressions, and people couldn't help but wonder what kind of future awaited a child raised by such people. But as interesting as their approach seemed, cracks began to show. It actually started with Musk's older children. One of his children, Vivian Wilson, had transitioned, but Musk openly distanced himself from her, and she also did. According to media reports, Musk has a conservative view on gender and identity.
Musk went on to say in an interview that he was tricked into authorizing his own child's transition, and as a result, his son is dead.
And his discomfort with certain aspects of modern social movements has created tension within his family. This tension spilled over into his thoughts about X's future. What could that mean for his youngest son if one of his children had already chosen to step away from him due to ideological differences? The realization unsettled him and Grime. Despite his commitment to the world of futurism and abstract ideas, Grimes had always carried a certain emotional depth. While he focused on engineering solutions for global problems, she was more attuned to human emotions, creative expression, and personal identity. This difference is now bringing cracks in how they approach parenting. Musk, who had always prided himself on intellectual dominance, is suddenly faced with a reality he can't control: his children's individuality. Neither of them had expected this fear over X's future. They had built a life together, believing they could raise their child in an environment free from societal constraints. But Vivian's rejection of Musk had forced a harsh realization. Children don't always follow the paths their parents make for them. Musk had spent years investing in clean transportation, space travel, and artificial intelligence. But shaping a child's identity was an entirely different challenge. Sadly for the couples, as their concerns grew, so did their troubles. Was Musk trying to impose his worldview on his son? Did Grimes push back against Musk's rigid mindset? We can get some clues from them, and it will shock you. Extraordinary upbringing of X. Let's return to when Musk and Grimes introduced their son's name. The name X wasn't just an unusual name.
I mean, it's just X, the letter X. And then the AE is like pronounced Ash. Yeah. And then A12 is my contribution.
It was a puzzle. People scrambled to explain it. Some went as far as to ask whether it was even legal. According to some, it was a futuristic statement, a rejection of conventional naming tradition, while others dismissed it as a publicity stunt. But for Musk and Grimes, it had meaning. It represented elements of artificial intelligence, space exploration, and secrecy. While the name became a global talking point, what was even more interesting was how they planned to raise him. Unlike most celebrity children born into luxury and privilege, X was initially introduced to science, technology, and creativity. Musk and Grimes were not interested in a traditional upbringing. They saw parenting as an opportunity to shape a mind that could push the boundaries of what was possible. It doesn't seem they are leaving anything to chance this time. According to Musk, intelligence is never inherited. It has to be cultivated. He had strong opinions about education and often criticized the traditional school system for being outdated and ineffective. His older children had attended an experimental school he created, designed to encourage problem-solving and innovation rather than rote memorization. X would likely follow a similar path in education. Rather than sitting in a classroom with textbooks, his education would be built around hands-on experiences, exposure to groundbreaking technology, and direct mentorship from experts in various fields. Musk took his son to Tesla factories, White House meetings, and SpaceX headquarters from an early age. While most children were learning their ABCs, X was surrounded by engineers, rockets, and AI systems. Musk believed that immersing himself in an innovation environment would help him develop a natural problem-solving mindset. Instead of playing with toy cars, he watched self-driving Teslas in action. The most interesting part is just staying ahead of us. Instead of bedtime stories, he heard stories about interplanetary travel. On the other hand, Grimes introduced an entirely different set of interests to the little champ. As an artist, musician, and self-proclaimed futurist, she believed intelligence wasn't just about logic and numbers, but also thrived in creativity and self-expression. According to sources close to the family, she surrounded X with music, art, and coding, and encouraged him to explore the world in a way that wasn't purely analytical. For her, technology was more than a tool for solving problems. It was a medium for expression. That is precisely the problem. Musk adopted a structured, scientific approach to raising him, while Grimes believed in free-spirited creativity. Instead of being raised with one dominant philosophy, X was torn between two worlds. According to media sources, unresolved differences in their approach towards him contributed to their breakup. While Musk wants him to think like an engineer, Grimes wants him to live like an artist. The parenting style of Musk and Grime is not just unconventional. It is entirely detached from the traditional idea of childhood. There is no emphasis on expensive toys, designer clothes, or celebrity playdates. Instead, their son is being raised in a way that reflects their interests and obsessions. Musk's belief in, at the same time, there are questions about how this approach would affect X in the long run. Back then, Grimes had no idea that her relationship with Musk would not last forever. She wanted to build an environment that encouraged exploration. The couple knew they couldn't control how the outside world would perceive him. He was already the subject of public interest from the moment he was born. People are now watching to see how he will grow, what he will become, and whether he will follow in his father's footsteps or forge his path. And don't forget the issue of identity. A name could be carefully chosen, and an upbringing could be structured, but ultimately, every child develops their sense of self. Would he embrace the world his parents are making for him, or seek something entirely different? Being the child of two highly influential, yet vastly different individuals, meant he would have to meet expectations from them and the outside world. As he grew older, new challenges would come. Remember that Musk's demanding career and personal life had already affected his relationships with his other children, and he broke up with X's mom. If you think the differences between Elon Musk and Grimes' approach to raising X cannot get messy, wait for what we will reveal next. This will shock you. X's White House appearance. Elon Musk recently visited the White House with X. However, not everyone was happy with the visit.
Now to that remarkable scene at the White House just a short time ago. Elon Musk standing in the Oval Office, President Trump sitting behind the Resolute desk.
For starters, some people complained that they elected Trump and not Elon Musk to run the country's affairs, but many did not see another silent battle raging in the background, a struggle from Grime, the child's mom. Neither said it outright, but the competition was getting hot, and then X unknowingly threw fuel on the fire during the White House press event. Musk had been standing next to Trump, talking about big policy stuff, when X wandered around the Oval Office. At first, it was kind of funny, this tiny kid in a room full of serious adults, but then he did something unexpected. He climbed onto his dad's shoulders and started copying his gestures, as if he were the one giving the speech. Cameras flashed, reporters whispered, and Musk looked off for a second. Maybe it was pride. Perhaps it was the realization that X was soaking up everything around him, already drawn to the power and presence Musk carried in a room like that. Grimes watched the whole thing unfold on social media, and she didn't love it. According to her, it wasn't jealousy, it was something else. She spent so much time making sure X saw the world through an artist's lens, showing him music and teaching him how to bend sound into something magical. And yet, there he was, imitating Musk, standing in the middle of a political event like he was born for it. According to media reports, she had a message for X, that music also had the power to change the world. Unfortunately for her, there was no way to get the message across. Remember that Grime complained she hadn't seen X for a while. According to her, Elon Musk has taken steps to deprive her of access to their child. Just when she was mad about the whole saga, Elon Musk did something that left everyone speechless. Musk wasn't about to let this become one-sided. The following day, he took X to a SpaceX facility and walked him up to a rocket. "This," he said, "is the future." Let's face it, X's early exposure to technology and creativity might help him in ways we don't know yet, but the issue is that each of his parents wants to see in him a part of their own talents. According to Elon Musk, X is an intensely curious boy who loves to observe and ask questions. Musk also added that he had the same traits as a child, as he was similarly obsessed with machines and problem-solving. Grimes, however, sees something else. According to her, X responds well to music. She has caught him experimenting with sound and admires his expression. One thing is clear by now. Their son is not just seen in the middle of their parenting drama. He is actively picking from both sides. His father sees him as a young problem solver who is showing an ability to think critically and understand the mechanics of the world around him. But Grimes believes technology and art go hand in hand, and she wants to see X experience this balance firsthand. To her, music is not just an art. It is another language, a form of creative logic that blends well with technology. The double influence is building him into a child like no other. Thank you for staying with us. Do you think Musk and Grime are playing it right? Ip Man and Bruce Lee, two legendary names that forever changed the world of martial arts. As master and student, their bond seemed unshakable, with Bruce learning the secrets of Wing Chun under Ip Man's guidance.
Following the success of Ip Man, the biopic based on the Wing Chun grandmaster and mentor to Bruce Lee.
But behind the scenes, things weren't as harmonious as they appeared. Tensions arose, leading Ip Man to make the shocking decision to stop teaching his most famous pupil. What caused this unexpected rift? Was it personal, cultural, or something even deeper? The truth behind their split remains one of the most intriguing mysteries in martial arts history, and it's a story you won't want to miss. life on the streets of Hong Kong. Growing up in the 1950s, Hong Kong was far from an easy ride for a young Bruce. The city was bustling, with narrow streets filled with noise, energy, and a blend of old customs and new influences.
Born in the U.S. and raised in Hong Kong, Bruce Lee trained as an actor and martial artist.
Hong Kong was a melting pot where Western ideas brushed shoulders with deep-rooted Chinese traditions. On one side, you'd see the modern shops and neon lights beginning to pop up. On the other, there was an undercurrent of old-world values and tough street life. For many teenagers, including Bruce, the streets were both a playground and a battleground. In the midst of this urban chaos, Bruce found himself hanging out with groups known as Teddy Boys. These weren't formal gangs, but rather clusters of youngsters who looked for identity, respect, or just a good adrenaline rush by creating their own rules. His mixed heritage sometimes made him stand out, and while that wasn't always a bad thing, it also meant that he had to fight for acceptance. Sometimes his looks, blending Chinese features with hints of European ancestry, made him a target for teasing or exclusion by those who clung tightly to tradition. Even so, Bruce turned any challenge into fuel for his ever-growing determination. In a city where every day brought new encounters, Bruce experienced life at full throttle. The energy of the streets, the mix of Western styles and Eastern traditions, and the constant dance between performance and real struggle all played a role in shaping his character. The rough and ready environment of Hong Kong instilled in him the need to become more than just a flash in the pan. It set him on a path to seek real discipline, a path that would eventually lead him into the intricate world of martial arts.
The one, the only, the immortal, Bruce Lee.
He was a martial arts revolutionary and Hollywood pioneer,
where true skill was measured by control, technique, and respect for the art itself. The awakening. It wasn't long before Bruce began to see that his street brawls and movie set pranks could only take him so far when it came to real fighting. As he grew older, the playful scraps with friends started to evolve into real confrontations. There was a point when he realized that raw strength and rebellious bravado were not everything. What he really needed was a systematic way to sharpen his skills, something that would give him an edge both on the streets and later in life, when he was already carving out a reputation for his moves. This realization marked the start of a deeper search for martial arts training that went beyond what he had picked up from the local street fights. At that time, many young people in Hong Kong faced conflict on everyday grounds, whether they were going head-to-head with rivals or simply trying to protect their honor. Bruce had witnessed firsthand the difference between a quick scrap and a well-timed strike that could turn the tide of a fight. While his early life in the film world had taught him dramatic flair, it was the hard-knock lessons from the street that pushed him to seek something more substantial. He wanted a fighting method that wasn't just about style, but about efficiency, timing, and power in close-quarters combat. The spark for that real change in Bruce's life came when he started learning about Wing Chun, a martial art known for its practicality and simplicity in turbulent situations. People around him, like some of the older kids who already practiced it, had started to notice that Wing Chun wasn't just another form of fighting. It was a system that emphasized structure, balance, and the effective use of every movement. Bruce began to understand that if he wanted to be more than just a street tough, he would need to embrace a style that demanded hard work, discipline, and respect for each technique. Meeting William Chung. In the search for a structured martial arts training, Bruce's path crossed with that of William Chung.
Bruce Lee, for 4.5 years, he trained in Wing Chun.
A guy a few years older who was already making a name for himself in the local Wing Chun scene. William was respected not only for his skills, but also for his dedication and seriousness in training. When Bruce saw what William could do, it wasn't long before he wanted in. William Chung had become more than just a local fighter. He was a gateway into a world where technique and discipline mattered more than flashy moves. For Bruce, meeting William was like opening a door to a whole new level of fighting. William had been training in Wing Chun for a while under the guidance of a respected master. His movements were precise, and he knew how to use close combat techniques to handle even the toughest opponents in Hong Kong's alleys. Bruce, with his boundless energy and restless nature, was immediately drawn to this style. He saw in William not just an older, tougher guy, but a mentor who could show him the ropes of a more disciplined approach to conflict. It wasn't just about winning a fight. It was about learning a way to be confident, to control one's body, and to develop that inner sense of calm that could make all the difference when a punch was thrown. As their friendship grew, William took Bruce under his wing, giving him access to a world that wasn't as familiar to most of his peers. William's group of fellow practitioners had already started to explore the practical benefits of Wing Chun, and Bruce was eager to learn alongside them. This wasn't just about mimicking moves, it was about understanding the essence of the techniques. Even if Bruce sometimes came off as flashier or more carefree, behind his confident exterior was a burning desire to master a fighting system that could stand up to any challenge. His time with William Chung laid the groundwork for what would become a lifelong pursuit of martial arts mastery. Entering the world of Wing Chun with Ip Man. With William Chung acting as his guide, Bruce soon found himself stepping into the inner circle of Wing Chun, a world where the discipline of body and mind was the true measure of a fighter. At the center of this world was Ip Man, a revered master who had brought Wing Chun from Foshan to Hong Kong. Ip Man wasn't just any teacher. He carried with him an aura of calm authority and a reputation built on years of dedicated practice. His teaching was rooted in both physical technique and a deeper philosophy that spoke to the idea of constant learning and adaptation. While Ip Man's main classes took place in a quiet household setting in Hong Kong, where tradition and humility were expected, Bruce's style didn't quite fit the mold. He was impulsive and full of youthful energy, traits that didn't immediately win over the seasoned practitioners. Yet, there was a spark behind his antics, a genuine hunger for improvement. Ip Man, aware of the delicate balance between strict training methods and encouraging raw talent, made a choice. Rather than squashing Bruce's enthusiasm, he allowed him to continue learning, but with a twist. Bruce was gradually redirected away from the full group sessions in a bid to reduce the friction his behavior caused. This meant that Bruce would mainly train with one of Ip Man's top students rather than be immersed in the formal setting of Ip Man's house. The decision wasn't made lightly. Ip Man had a strong sense of preserving the class atmosphere and did not want discord among the students to undermine the teaching process. Yet, he also recognized that Bruce's progress could not be halted. In a way, this move marked both a setback and an opportunity.
This Wing Chun is very different than ours. It's basically still muscular way of generating power.
While Bruce was now somewhat distanced from the master himself, the arrangement ensured that he continued to receive focused training, soaking in the essence of Wing Chun through a different lens. Training under Wong Shun Leung. After Bruce was steered away from Ip Man's central classes, his training really kicked into high gear under Wong Shun Leung, a top student in Ip Man's circle known for his practical fighting skills and quick reflexes. Wong Shun Leung had earned a reputation on the streets of Hong Kong as someone who knew how to mix disciplined technique with a fighter's instinct. For Bruce, training with Wong turned out to be an eye-opening experience that pushed him to rethink his approach to combat. Wong wasn't just a teacher, he was a challenger. His methods were straightforward, focusing on real fights rather than ceremonial forms. This suited Bruce just fine, as he had always been more about action than theory. From the start, Bruce was eager to learn everything he could from Wong. He'd show up with his typical flair, sometimes sporting slicked-back hair and cool sunglasses that made him look like he had stepped out of a movie. But it wasn't just his looks that caught Wong's attention. It was the relentless hunger in Bruce's eyes. He wanted to be the best, not just fight for style, but to outdo everyone around him. Despite the clear talent Bruce had, his competitive nature often got the best of him. He started pushing boundaries early on by playing pranks to secure more one-on-one time with Wong. He'd sometimes be the first to show up at training sessions and even claimed that classes were canceled so that he could make an extra effort to learn from Wong individually. While this approach occasionally rubbed other students the wrong way, it was also a sign of Bruce's urgency and his desire to fast-track his progress. Wong Shun Leung's training regimen was intense and pragmatic. He taught Bruce the importance of tight, efficient movements and the idea that every strike counted. There wasn't any wasted motion in his lessons. Rather than endless repetitions of forms, they focused on drills that simulated real situations, quick footwork, rapid hand techniques, and the kind of sensitivity needed to respond to an opponent's moves. This was all about making sure that technique met timing. For Bruce, it was a trial-by-fire experience that honed his natural athletic gifts and sharpened his combat instincts. Conflict and the turning point. As Bruce's skill sharpened under Wong Shun Leung's guidance, the growing gap between him and the rest of the students started to show. His natural talent and unbridled enthusiasm were both a blessing and a curse. In a traditional martial arts setting, respect and humility were as critical as fighting ability. Bruce's high-spirited antics, pranks, and constant pursuit of extra lessons began to put him at odds with some of the more seasoned students in the Wing Chun school. Many of these students, who had put in years of hard work, felt that Bruce's behavior was disruptive and showed a lack of proper respect for the discipline. Apart from his boisterous nature, Bruce's mixed heritage also fueled tension. Being of Eurasian descent in a tightly knit, tradition-bound environment sometimes made him an easy target for those who clung to the original ideas of a pure lineage of martial arts. Some of the older students, who had trained long and hard without the advantages that Bruce's youthful swagger seemed to afford him, started to view him as an outsider. They were not just upset by his tricks, but also by the idea that he was receiving any extra attention while ignoring long-standing traditions. The frustration among the students grew, and soon the collective pressure was enough to reach the ears of Ip Man. Faced with the possibility of a disrupted learning environment, Ip Man made a tough decision. Instead of expelling Bruce outright, he decided to keep him away from the main classes that took place in his personal home. This decision was a way to honor the strict discipline of the group while still preserving Bruce's progress. It was a bittersweet moment. On one hand, Bruce was separated from the direct, nurturing environment of Ip Man's lessons. On the other, he was given the chance to continue training one-on-one with Wong Shun Leung, taking his lessons to an even more personalized level. The path to Jeet Kune Do. After years of structured training and numerous setbacks in the traditional setting, Bruce found himself at a crossroads. With a solid base in Wing Chun and an ever-growing list of skills honed under various teachers, he began to see that there was no single formula for success on the streets or in the ring. The experiences he gathered, from the strict teachings of Ip Man to the practical, sometimes rough lessons from Wong Shun Leung, had all contributed to a growing realization. Bruce understood that true fighting was not just about memorizing techniques, but about finding what worked best for the individual, adapting techniques as needed, and constantly evolving. This insight led Bruce to step away from a fixed style. He started exploring other systems and techniques outside the realm of Wing Chun alone. He began studying Western boxing, eventually picking up on ideas like footwork and timing that were different from the traditional Chinese approach. Bruce also took an interest in fencing and other martial disciplines that seemed to offer a different perspective on movement and reaction. In many ways, his approach to learning became like a personal experiment. He would test various ideas, mix and match drills, and then refine them based on what felt natural and effective. In forging this new martial art, Bruce broke away from the old idea that there was only one best way to fight. Instead, he believed that a true martial artist should absorb what is useful, discard what is not, and form their own unique expression of combat. His experiences in Hong Kong, marked by ups and downs, pranks and setbacks, became the wellspring of inspiration for this radical blend of techniques. Bruce's journey was more than just learning to fight. It was about finding his own voice and embodying a philosophy that celebrated flexibility, efficiency, and continuous growth. Today, Bruce Lee is remembered not only as a legendary actor and fighter, but also as a pioneer who redefined martial arts by rejecting rigid structures in favor of a style that was as fluid as it was powerful. Share your opinions with us in the comments section. If you enjoyed the video, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also, click the following video on your screen, and you will enjoy it.